Welcome to Getting Started. Locate the green letter A icon on your desktop. Double left click on it. I'm going to maximize main screen. And now before you, you have the main screen of the program that appears exactly the same way every time with the same default information. In this particular case, the green calculator has a $100,000 mortgage at an annual interest rate of 7%. An amortization period of 25 years, and a monthly payment of $700.42. That will take the full 25 years to amortize or fully pay off that mortgage. To move around inside the calculator, it's a standard Windows procedure. It's the Tab key. As I'm speaking to you now, I'm pressing the Tab key, and if I hold it down, you'll see the Tab key goes around in a continuous loop. If you do Shift Tab, it goes in reverse order. Now, as we invoke the program, you'll notice that the cursor was on the principal box, always waiting for you to change the information to your own particular needs. In this particular case, we would look at it and see that this happens to be a Canadian mortgage because it's semi-annual compounding. Now, if you wanted to have a different default information in your calculator, this is what you would do. I'm going to change, and let's pretend we're an American user. I'm changing the compounding method to monthly because 99% of all American mortgages are 30-year fixed-rate mortgages with monthly compounding and monthly payments. But let's say, for argument's sake, for whatever reason, we wanted the principal, which I'm now typing in, as $200,000. I'm pressing the Tab key, which enters the $200,000 amount for the principal, and moves to the next input box, which is 7%. And I'm going to change that to 6%, and there's a reason in my madness here. I press Tab and we're down to the amortization period, and I'm going to change that to 30 years because this is going to be an American example. Now notice how before I press the Tab key, we've changed the first three pieces of information in the calculator. And watch when I press Tab. The blended monthly payment is immediately calculated, and below that, the assumption is made by the program that you want a blended payment monthly schedule. Now, I purposely chose the first three, and the fourth one was automatically calculated, and that's what I refer to as the 3 out of 4 principle in the program. But you don't necessarily have to do the inputs in that order. You can change any three of those first 4 variables, and the missing one will be automatically calculated. So now we can play little games, like, for example, if the interest rate was 7%, and notice as soon as I put the 7 in, the calculator is now imbalanced, and thus the information in the spreadsheet would be wrong, so therefore the spreadsheet disappears so that no one would inadvertently print out a wrong spreadsheet or a wrong amortization schedule. So now we're going to go 7%. I'm pressing Tab. I'm going to change that to 29 years. I'm going to press Tab, and I'm going to change the monthly payment to $1,200. Now, as soon as I press Tab, watch what's recalculated. The missing one, which was the principal. So what we've now done is change the interest rate, the AM period, and the payment, and figured out what kind of money you could borrow for that scenario. This is a very powerful feature because, for example, you could use it to check interest rates, which are not always crystal clear, especially when it comes to car leases. But I'll show you that feature right now. I'm clicking with the mouse on the principal box, and I'm going to put in $190,000. I'm going to tab past the interest rate. I'm going to go back to 30 years. I'm going to press Tab, and I'm going to put in $1,300 a month. Now, when I press the Tab key, which completes entering 3 of the items, and I tabbed over the interest rate. Okay, it's telling us that for $190,000 at $1,300 a month payments for 30 years, the interest rate would have to be 7.28%. Now that's a pretty powerful feature. Now that's using 3 out of 4, but let's go one step further and use 1 out of 4. For example, let's say we wanted to play the game. Well, for 30 years at $1,300 a month, if it was $200,000, what would the interest rate have to be? Now, the program, if we're only going to change one thing, we want to see what the interest rate is. The program doesn't know what you want to recalculate, so you have to tell it. So there are two ways we can recalculate the annual interest rate for this scenario. One, we can click on the annual interest rate box, which I'm doing now, and press the F6 key, and it will calculate and tell you that for that scenario the interest rate would have to be 6.7711. Or we'll make another change. Let's make it 201,000. And again, we're going to calculate the interest rate for that scenario, but instead of clicking on the box and pressing F6, if you're a mouse-oriented person, you could take your mouse and left-click on the prompt in front of that box, which I've just done, and it calculates the new interest rate as 6.7225. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the information in the calculator is your default information that's loaded each time the program is running. Let's use this information that's currently in the calculator as our default information. So what we need to do is press the F9 key, click on the Save button, and now to prove to you that this information in the calculator is saved as the new default information, I'm going to exit the program, go back into the program, maximize the screen, and there it is. Monthly compounding, you're an American user, and there's your default information that you put in there. Now that's a very powerful feature. Now, as I said before, to get into the spreadsheet, there's only one way into the spreadsheet, and that's by taking the mouse and clicking on any cell inside the spreadsheet. So I'm just going to pick that and click on that. We're now inside the spreadsheet because I clicked on the 11th payment cell. Now, the reason we're in the spreadsheet is because we're going to make changes because someone may have missed payments, they may have doubled their payments. This could be an adjustable rate mortgage, and you may want to go in and change all the different interest rates each month. Or you may want to have prepayments to go along with a regularly scheduled payment. But for whatever reason, once you go into the spreadsheet, you go into the spreadsheet or the amortization schedule, which is below this powder blue line on the main screen, for one reason, and that's to make changes. Thus, you never go back to the calculator, because now once you're inside the spreadsheet, making changes, the only function of the calculator is to serve as a reference point. Now, while we're on that topic, you'll notice that above the $201,000 mortgage at 6.7225 for 30 years, the interest cost for that mortgage, and it's shown as in brackets or parentheses above the principal box, it's shown as $267,003.65. Now notice the amortization schedule that's generated below. The interest there is $267,003.52. So there's a 12-cent difference, a 13-cent difference. Sorry about that. You can never get those two initial interests to agree completely, and it's just a little quirk in the compiler from Microsoft. And I don't think that's such a big problem, because when you're talking about $267,000 in interest costs, I'm sure there's a few people that are not going to be too upset for 5 or 10 or 15-cent difference in a balance. Now, we're inside the spreadsheet, and to show you how easy it is to make changes, I'm going back into the spreadsheet. Let's say, for argument's sake, that number 6, well, first of all, I'll highlight and show you one of the features that you can do with the program. Let's highlight or color the columns that you can make changes in. You can make changes in the date column, but I cannot color that one because it's locked out of the program. But you can make changes in the payment column, which I'm going to highlight, go to the painted brush, I'm going to make it powder blue. Now that column is powder blue. I'll do the same for the interest column. I'll do the same for the prepayment column. And I'm going to do the same for the notes column. Now, these 4 colored columns, obviously you can make changes, and especially in the notes column you would type in some text. Let's assume we wanted to change the 8th payment to $2,000. This was an open mortgage and you were allowed to make payment changes. You can see that as soon as I pressed the enter key, the $2,000 was entered for payment number 8, and the cursor moved below when I pressed enter. You can move around inside the spreadsheet with the left and right arrows, or the up and down arrows, or you can hit the enter key, or you can use the tab key. This is in contrast to the calculator, where the only way you can move around inside the calculator is with the tab key only. So we've given you a little more flexibility inside the spreadsheet. Now I've made that payment $2,000. Let's assume, and I just clicked on that cell and you notice how there's a fuzzy border around it again. Let's assume that you wanted to make the next 4 payments $2,000 also. So I'm going to do a shift down arrow, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to do a control V as in Victor. And you'll notice it copied down that value of 2,000, changed the color for all the changed cells, and recalculated the entire schedule. Now this copy down feature could have also been done by highlighting with the mouse instead of the shift down arrow. And it works, the copy down feature works on all of the blue colored columns. Now let's go in and show you how you would change the interest rate after the 3rd payment. After making the 3rd payment, you want the interest rate to be an even 6% for the next month. You would type in 6 and I'm pressing the down arrow. The same goes over here. Let's say after on the 16th payment you wanted to have a $4,000 prepayment to go along with the regularly scheduled payment on, let's make sure we have the right date here, along with the 16th payment on October 26, 2008, you wanted to make a $4,000 prepayment. You just type it in, press enter. Now if you were a builder and this happened to be a builder's loan, and let's say on the 20th payment, they delivered the load of drywall in the driveway and you owe a check for $10,000 and you want to put it on the mortgage, you would put that in as minus $10,000, boom. Your schedule is recalculated. Now these are some of the main features to get you started and up and running for generating amortization schedules. Now let's exit this spreadsheet, and what we do now, I'm going to go File, I'm going up to the menu, File, Save As, I'm going to give it a name, let's call it First Example. Aha, it's warned me that that name has already been chosen. Do you want to replace it? I'm going to say yes. The program has now been saved as First Example. I'm going to exit the program, and to prove to you that it's there, we'll go into my documents. I'm going to go back up to the current date, First Example, and spreadsheets that are saved have the M as in mother or mortgage, M2P extension. I click on that. I'll maximize it again. And there's all the changes we had just made. You could do this an hour later, 2 days later, or a month later. But you can retrieve all of your savings, your changes, and even the colors. That's it. I'm going to exit the program right now. And thank you for your attention.